A lot of you may think that it's summer, but guess what? It's still spring. Summer solstice still 3 days away. That's coming on Sunday, later during the evening. Taking a look at the map. Well, we do have summer in place in some areas. Omaha, out to Grand Island, well up into the mid-100s at this hour. And we've got 100 all the way east into Des Moines. Also continuing the heat wave in the desert southwest. Not a particularly severe one. 113 at Phoenix. However, that temperature is 1 degree short of the record for the state. Las Vegas at 111, coming within 2 degrees of the record for the state. And out in the San Joaquin Valley, very hot, showing 100 at Sacramento and 102 up at Redding. Palm Springs at this hour, 117. That's going to be near the middle of the map. But if we go back to this morning, here we're looking at the temperatures at 6 a.m. 84 degrees there at Palm Springs, and that sets a record minimum for the date, beating the old record of 78. Some very hot temperatures during the dawn hours. And take a look at these temperatures. Las Vegas, 93 degrees. Needles, 97, and 93 at Kingman. You would expect those to be afternoon highs during the month of May. But yeah, those are going to be pretty much near the minimums. 92 at Vegas. Man, that's some hot weather. Kind of a nondescript pattern across the eastern and southern states. This is a branch of the Bermuda High across the eastern U.S., and we're getting that advection of moisture from the Gulf Coast area, although the winds down in the Texas region are a little bit offshore in response to that tropical storm that's down there in the Gulf. We'll take a look at that shortly. And some big changes up to the north. Got a very strong frontal system that's centered up in the Hudson Bay, James Bay area, and that's bringing cold air down. Now, in the northern plains, the Dakotas, Nebraska, we still have downslope flow, and that air is quite dry and doesn't have much origin from northern Canada. So even though we do have a front that has passed that area, not a whole lot of response in the temperatures, more seasonal if anything. And here's the real cold air working its way down into the Canadian prairies, and back behind it some 30s and 40s. And that air does have quite a bit of volume. And if we look further up north in the Canadian high Arctic, looks like there is a supply line moving south. That's a very long north-south gradient of northerly flow. So we can expect quite a bit of that to make it into the United States around Sunday and Monday. Taking a look at the NHC products, we've got potential Tropical Cyclone 3 right there in the western Gulf, and as we've mentioned, that's pretty much progged to come into Louisiana. And with that, there is the possibility for a few Tropical Cyclone-spawned tornadoes. That would be mostly to the right of the track, mostly towards the Gulf Coast area where the frictional effects are kind of maximized. So southern Alabama, far western Florida, they would be under the gun for a little bit of severe weather later Friday into Saturday. The forecast bringing that up to about 35 to 40 knots sustained, so that's likely to be a low-end tropical storm. And of course that would be Claudette. And since those winds are coming up as early as tonight, around midnight, we may see that named as Tropical Storm Claudette sometime tonight. No real surprises on that track. Maybe a very slight eastward shift more towards Lafayette, and that's it right there. So this will be mostly a concern for the area between Lafayette and New Orleans, but that'll be coming on shore later Friday into Saturday morning. And that will be moving very quickly. There's daybreak Saturday, and then by Saturday evening, positioned around Thomasville, Alabama, Winds 10 to 15 knots, but you can see on the west side a few 5-knot wind plots. So not much circulation coming inland. And then for Sunday morning, that's going to be moving into the area just south of Atlanta. And then for Saturday or Sunday evening, there it is crossing over towards Columbia, South Carolina. So that rapid movement towards the northeast will tend to limit the total rainfall. Now with that cold front moving through the northern plains, passing Minneapolis, coming into northeastern Nebraska, we're seeing the moisture axis impinging on that front, especially in the I-35 corridor. Now you can see the dew points are not particularly high, running in the low to mid-60s, but there is enough convergence and moisture to get storms going, especially in this area right here. Storm Prediction Center focusing on an enhanced risk in southeastern Minnesota, northeastern Iowa, and adjoining parts of Wisconsin and Illinois. Here's the current high-resolution rapid refresh. Not really much in the way of signals for convection, except more towards dark around La Crosse, Wisconsin. However, let's take a look at the environment. We'll just kind of grab a random proximity sounding there. And yeah, there is some dry air aloft. Decapes running up near 1,000. However, the hodograph is curved, just enough SRH to enhance the tornado risk. We'll grab another one to make sure the data is consistent. Decapes up near 1,000, and yeah, pretty good curvature in that hodograph, so we certainly can't rule out tornadoes. But depending on which parcel you select, you can see that there is dry air right off the surface. So not all these parcels are going to be favorable. Yep, dry air right off the surface, and that's what's partly contributing to the high decapes. Now we can already see that we do have storms going on in that part of the country, and so the high-resolution rapid refresh is under forecasting the coverage. Currently at this time, we're looking at a kind of a broken line from central Wisconsin out towards the northern part of Iowa. And there's the radar. None of these are looking all that interesting. In fact, there's a dissipation trend, and due to the fast movement from west to east, this tells me that they're rooted in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. And let's see the dew points, and what looks like continued 70s around Rochester. Yeah, this environment right here is not completely out of play. So I would certainly look for the potential for development along that front. There it is right there, just barely out of Minneapolis, moving down through the, I don't know all these towns, but anyway, yeah, that's the axis I would be concerned with, kind of in there. So I would certainly be watching for the potential for redevelopment right there as these leading edge cells clear out and move towards the east. And let's check out that subtropical high tied in with the hot temperatures. Very easy to pick it out when we have this cloud mass here, and we're focusing on the anvils, the glaciated parts of these storms. And you can see that there's kind of a westward drift like that here, and an eastward drift up to the north. And that puts the upper level high pretty much in the Four Corners region. See that little bit of rotation right in there? That's going to be about where it's located. Does that tie in very well with the GFS? Yeah, definitely. There's the upper level high, surrounded by this 594 decameter line. And looking ahead over the next couple of days, we can see that breaking down a little bit. We're left with a 591 decameter line, which is shrinking. So that's going to be one of the signals that the heat is breaking, at least for a little while. And then our attention shifts to the north with this polar front jet in the northern states. A couple of troughs moving through the flow, and we're going to see some of that cold air pushing its way south over the weekend. Up to the north, the cold air starts moving in. There's a 10-16 millibar high, bringing a push of cold air southward. And then going into Saturday, our first push of cold air comes into Illinois and Montana. gets kind of stuck there, but here comes another wave getting established right there in Wyoming. And as that moves towards the east, you're going to see the next push of cold air working its way south. There it is right there, and that's going to be even stronger. We're going to be seeing highs in the 70s in Nebraska, 30 degrees colder than it's been, and nighttime lows could be in the 40s. Then going into Sunday, look at that 540 decameter thickness line, some snow indicated in western Ontario. And I'm not too sure we've seen a 540 decameter thickness line in June in the U.S. I mean, maybe it has happened, but this is the first time I can recall personally that that's happened. And plenty of snow, maybe producing a little accumulation on the Trans-Can Highway. And it should be a pretty blustery day in the Great Lakes for Sunday going into Monday. But it will be a rapid recovery because of the strong surface heating, the strong ground. This will be a very short-lived cold air outbreak. But the leading edge will come south. There it is right there, already down into Texas for Monday and Tuesday. And that's going to continue the offshore component that will tend to block a lot of the tropical air from moving north. So we're looking at a very dry start to next week. Tropical flow starts getting established once again on Wednesday. And as you can see, the thickness lines are kind of oriented like that, which tells us that we may have a northwest flow situation setting up in the Central Plains. There they are, some overnight storms in Nebraska and Kansas for Wednesday night into Thursday, and maybe a couple rounds of that coming in later during the week across much of the Central Plains. There's a quick look at conditions in Europe. Looks like temperatures have come up. We're seeing a few 80s in northern Germany. Looks like 84 around Hamburg. And elsewhere, lots of 70s. Looks pretty warm from Poland into Germany. However, a new front coming in from the UK into the Netherlands. And looks like a pretty strong component coming in from the Atlantic across the British Isles. Looking at the precipitable water product, a lot of moisture across Central Europe. We've got 1 to 1.5 inch precipitable water from the French coast down to the south into the Netherlands. And with the troughiness out towards the west, that'll tend to divert a lot of the dry air towards the south. And what that means is probably kind of a rainy, stormy pattern for Central Europe. And you can see right there going into Saturday and Sunday, a couple waves moving through that area. And yeah, you can see these capes coming up for Saturday in far eastern France. That's near 2,000 to 3,000. And here's a look at what the soundings look like. Steep lapse rates. The moisture does taper off as you go up off the surface, but there is enough to support severe weather. And you can see the photographs there showing some curvature. That's enough for some tornadic risk. And then it looks like for Sunday, the potential moves into eastern Germany. And if you watch the western edge of that Cape area, you're going to see an area of clearing moving into Germany. See that right there? That's a good indicator of a cold pool. So probably a cold pool driven system, an MCS moving across Germany during the day on Sunday. And that moves all the way into the Czech Republic, into eastern Germany by evening, and it looks like we lose our heating after that. Okay, and that's all I've got for this edition of Forecast Lab. I appreciate you watching. Now tomorrow we will be on break because I will be on the road visiting family for the first time in a year and a half. However, we will return on Monday for the supporters and Tuesday for everybody else. Hope you all have a great weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.